Hey, and we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. That show we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino. Sorry I'm a little slow with this one. I can't rush the magic here, but this is the newest Star Wars game. It's Star Wars Outlaws, but it's not from EA Games. This time around, it's Ubisoft's big turn at the franchise. It's from developers of The Division, massive, but this is a regular old single-player open-world adventure game, not a live service shooter. It's an attempt at new worlds, new adventures, and exploring the other side of the Star Wars universe, you know? No lightsabers or family drama, just crime and adventure. Now, I've been playing a review copy for a few days now on PC, where this footage is captured, and it's as spoiler-free as possible. So any story bits you see here are very early in the game. Now, to get my opinion up front so that people don't misconstrue or misunderstand, probably gonna get some flack for this, but I think Star Wars Outlaws is just okay. It's good, it's not great. Full transparency, I'm usually an easy mark. I'm a big Star Wars fan. The ups, the downs, lots more downs recently, but I am patient and have been really loving Star Wars on the video game front. Outlaws, for me personally, doesn't quite reach the heights of something like a Squadrons or a Jedi Fallen Order. If you fell out of love with Star Wars a while ago, no, I don't think this game is suddenly gonna win you back. If you've been looking at this game and hating on it or just really been disappointed with it leading up to this, no, I don't think it's gonna surprise you too much. But I went in looking for, an adventure in this criminal underbelly of Star Wars with a dash of Ubisoft. I knew what to expect here, the good and the bad that comes with that, and I pretty much got exactly that. It's got some heart, it's got some beautiful and incredibly well-built worlds to explore, but it's also got some very simple stealth and combat that it's repetitive. It didn't really do it for me, and it's got some forgettable story moments. So I recommend this game at some point only to the people who were looking for a Star Wars open world to really disappear into with flaws. It's a decent one for that, at least. So what is this game exactly? Well, you play as Kay Vess, a kind of messy, scrappy young woman scamming her way around her home planet until, you go through this very opening of Uncharted 2 style heist job, and it goes wrong, and then she ends up stealing a ship and escaping to another planet and just ends up on the run, getting into the mix with all sorts of criminal gangs, from Crimson Dawn to the Hutts, and you're dropped into this open world planet of Toshara. But after a few hours, the game actually opens up and gives you multiple main jobs and side jobs and stuff to take on to other planets. You then have the freedom to hop onto your ship, fly up into orbit, explore that orbit, or jump to another planet and go engage in more missions. Now, on the ground, you're exploring detailed cities and towns, hubs, interiors, cantinas, talking to people, and taking jobs, dealing with brokers, stuff like that. This is my favorite part of the game. The level of details in the cities and areas, the amount of explorable interiors, the unique alien races, people all milling about. It's really cool and fun to run around. They get the Star Wars feeling here, the vibe. It's really cool and fun to run around, find the bad guys' hideout, bet on races, play sabacc, maybe even cheat. This is where the game is firing on all cylinders and where I think the developers, Massive, really proved me right on how much I just love the worlds they've built previously. As a Star Wars fan, I just value walking into a cantina, seeing a Trandoshan arguing with a Zabrak, an R3 unit rolls by, some stormtroopers are harassing a Rodian. It's something we haven't truly experienced in modern video game fidelity like this, and I love it. The problem is, not a lot of it is very interactive. It's impressive on a visual scale, and it can be overwhelming to walk through a crowded marketplace filled with junk, but I can't really bump into NPCs, harass them, or really do too much little stuff in these areas. Outside, in the open areas, you can get into a lot more chaos. Speeder bike chases, races, shootouts, emergent heists, or battles that pop up. There's a bunch of stuff, but it actually does a good job of not all immediately being overwhelming. like a Ubisoft map cluttered with towers and bases to conquer. There is some of that stuff, but it doesn't feel clogged up with it. It's a better balance. There's actually a lot of wide open spaces that just make these worlds feel big and real. Yes, some of them might be just like glorified pretty hallways you're just driving by to get to the next thing, set dressing, but still, I don't know, I think it worked. Cruising around in your speeder is really entertaining. The controls are a little sensitive by default, but there's a good sense of speed, and you can kind of drift. The bike is upgradable with different abilities as you go, like increased acceleration, a boost, a little jump, and more. The big open world map and the cities are often divided by territories controlled by different groups, like the Empire or the many criminal factions. And this is one of the more interesting angles of the game. The faction system. Basically, every criminal faction has a meter with different levels of favorability. They hate you, they don't care about you, they love you, stuff like that. These meters are constantly fluctuating. Every action in the world, like everything, like every side mission, every time you trespass, every time you punch a guy, every main mission, it always just means you're gonna do one thing that makes someone happy and pisses off someone else. Just like real life. Some gangs will just hate you and shoot you on sight. Others, you can waltz right into their base or like their whole district in a city. You can get better discounts at their vendors if they like you, and you can even unlock some cool rewards as you rank up through these factions. So to see this integrated into the world like this, more than just kind of like choose one or the other in a cutscene, is really interesting. Especially with how impressively these factions are integrated into the cities from like a level design standpoint. There may be a district unique to a clan. These places are often tucked into the heart of a city or right on the outskirts and just weave their way throughout how you navigate around town. And with a clan's unique district, if they like you, you can step right in. But if they don't, then you need to find a weird way in, and then it's a stealth section. This is creative. This is good stuff. Now, speaking of stealth, this is where some things kind of dry up a little bit for me. It's one of the main two pillars of the game. Stealth is simple and effective. With enemies that investigate, stealth kills, ways to use your little creature to distract enemies, and it all works well enough. As a big stealth fan, I think it's competent, simple stealth, good for an open world game. But as it goes on, I don't know, maybe like after like 10 hours or so, unfortunately, it feels a bit repetitive and just a bit too simple. You get more tricks as you progress, smoke bombs, different ways to stealth kill, a few other things, but the tool set still just feels a bit limited after the first few hours. Like, it has its moments, but yeah, I wanted more. I like feeling slick, and the game will give you that feeling. That works. But eventually, that satisfaction dried up, and I kind of just relied on the same old tricks, and it felt rinse and repeat. Also, just noting, there are some sections, especially early on, that are forced stealth, meaning like they're forced stealth sections, so like if you're spotted, you instant fail right away. Some people hate that type of thing, so I just wanted to mention it. So typically in the game, especially out in the open world, you'll start an encounter by scouting the location with your binoculars, marking enemies, sneaking in, taking some bad guys out, and eventually you'll get spotted and you get into a shootout. This is straightforward third-person shooting, like running, sliding, crouching behind cover, and using your blaster. The actual shooting itself, feedback and sound effect wise, is good. Your blaster will unlock a few different firing modes and use cases, so it evolves and feels a little different. But you can also pick up firearms in the field on the fly. You drop these weapons very quickly though. Like, Kay won't sling a rifle over her back or something. They're pick up, use, and then drop. And that's a big shame because the blaster is solid but simple, sure, but the rifles, snipers, everything you pick up feel really great. Even just a simple Stormtrooper standard issue is awesome to shoot. I just wish you could keep them with you, and for shootouts, to have more variety. They're relatively simple affairs, and even though Kay can technically run, climb, swing on a rope, jump, punch, and shoot almost exactly like Nathan Drake, it never feels quite as fluid in those games, and the areas you fight in also don't encourage much of that fluidity. So if you can't tell, two of the big main things you do other than exploring, stealth and combat, are just okay in my eyes. Satisfying enough, but a bit simple, and it feels a bit long in the tooth after a few hours. Progression is done in an interesting way. Your character's kind of abilities and upgrades are somewhat tied to people. Yes, contacts you meet throughout the game end up kind of serving as big glorified skill trees. One mechanic allows you to progress through speeder bike upgrades that you can get in a variety of different ways. Collect some items to then upgrade a boost, or do a big jump to unlock another. There is variety to it all, like all these little skill trees. Carrying capacity, some little abilities to use in stealth or combat, like a talk your way out of it button, or a smoke bomb, stuff like that. It works well. The gear system, on the other hand, well, there's not much to it. They didn't overdo it. There's the small blaster upgrades I mentioned, and then some shirt, pants, and belts that are mostly cosmetic, but can sometimes give you little boosts. It's not a ton. Some of the faction outfits are cool as hell, though, like the designs, I will say. But for once, believe it or not, I'd actually like a little bit more here. In a big open world Star Wars game, I wouldn't have minded a little bit more customization and a bit more fun stuff to collect. Most of the time, I just loot stuff and just get random things and components that just felt like I was clicking on things for the sake of it. You know, not as compelling as it could be. Thankfully, the space travel is done very well. It's another angle that is simple, yes, but gives you the good feeling of hopping on your ship, flying up into space without a break or like a cut to black cutscene, and then bam, there's more to do in orbit. Attack enemies or mess with neutral ones, scan and discover more stuff to collect, some discoveries, and whole side missions up here. Your ship is fully upgradable to make it faster, take more damage, or have stronger weapons. So while it doesn't like completely transform your ship into a totally different new one, it is nice to have.
This is our lucky day. 2 ships to gut.
More of them? Oh, come on! We were stealing this first!
Flying around and blasting fighters is entertaining. Now, the game will probably take you at least like 40 hours, but you can spend a lot of time in here. On PC, although demanding, I did find it to run quite well on my machine with not a lot of issues. The game itself, though, good frame rates, all that stuff, but the game itself, though, a little bit buggy and glitchy here and there. I'd see a character appear in a cutscene, and then they'd also still be standing in the background at the same time where they were when I first clicked on them. I'd see a few enemies have a glitchy visual flicker, and sometimes the animations get a little bit borked, like finishers and stuff. Also, I got to acknowledge it, Kay's face does look pretty lifeless at times. I think the voice actor does a great job. Kay is good and spunky and appealing as a character, but her kind of bland, stiff facial expressions and animations don't really help much with that, and that's a weird shame. There are some little bugs that definitely need to be fixed around here, but otherwise, the world and everything from graphics and art design, absolutely gorgeous. The game can be a looker, and it really helps sell the whole living in Star Wars thing. They got the detail down right. Now, the game has that, like I said, that Star Wars entertainment factor, but appreciating the story is going to land on the individual. It has its moments, and like the relationship between Kay and her companion is great, but the villain and a few other side characters really fell short on me, making this an adventurous ride, but not really the most memorable one in my eyes. Now, the memorable stuff is the little stuff. Winning that hand at the Sabacc minigame, or walking through your first cantina, or discovering a weird hut off the beaten path, cruising on your speeder on Tatooine, like that stuff is solid. Just some of those elements, some of those core elements in the game are hit and miss in terms of how long they'll really truly keep you interested. I recommend Outlaws to a patient, hardcore Star Wars fan at some point. Maybe not right away at full price, but the worlds themselves, in my opinion, are worth seeing. But hey, that's it before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I want to hear yours down in the comments. I know probably some of you are pretty skeptical of this game. I definitely was, but I've tried it, I've put my hands on it, so this is what I think, but if you were jumping into it, I'd love to know what you're thinking. That's all we can do here, right? So let us know in the comments, and if you like this video and, you know, helped inform you, seeing the gameplay, anything like that, clicking the like button does help us. As usual, I'm Jake Baldino. The Before You Buy videos are my favorite thing to do on the internet. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
right now. Let's get the rest of that cargo.
There. Got it.
Perfect. We now have Setsana on board. I'll, put the space station coordinates in.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine.